Are they on already?
They on already.
All right, we don't have to do a test?
No, we good. We rolling. We're tapped into the studio, the control room A.
Okay, got it. I'm just making sure.
So first thing, man. You have been to the gallery in the Bronx opening when the compound was there.
Yes.
You've been to the compound in the Bronx.
Then you betrayed the Bronx, but it's all love.
What happened was the pandemic rates
You're right.
went up. So,
You're right.
I had to do what we had to do. But
that's a little valid pass.
Thank you. But being a person that has seen the evolution of the compound and now seeing this compound in the compound gallery downstairs, what are you feeling? What do you think and you see when you see the transition?
I feel exactly, I guess similar to what I told you when I first came. I was equally inspired and jealous at the same time. It's, by the way, it feels like it's triple or quadruple the size, which was amazing. I mean, the first compound was great, super dope. I loved it, man. Supreme section. You just had so much good energy and culture in there. But this is like quadruple the space, more art, more games, more, you know what I'm saying? Just like, I love it, man. Love it. It's truly inspiring.
Thank you, man.
Makes the golf couch feel like a closet.
Now, we're literally getting a silver couch delivered on Thursday. So, we just want you to know that the silver couch is coming on Thursday.
Appreciate that. Silver Fox.
Silver Fox. Match the beard.
I get it.
All right.
Thank you for having me, by the way.
Nah, thank you, man. This is...
I know this is a favor, but thanks.
Nah, totally. I mean...
I know you didn't want me on here.
Who do I make the invoice out for this interview for you?
It's good, though.
You know what it is? What made me wanted to start doing this because people don't get to hear people's stories. And, the conversations just me, my friends. The conversations we have on the phone is like, they're like really motivational stories for, both of us call each other times through our career.
Yep.
That just, you hang the phone up and you motivated, inspired. Yeah. Besides seeing people in the workplace, so I wanted to transfer that to these real conversations. So,
love that.
Like I said,
people trust you, so it's a good seat to be in. You know what I mean?
They trust us.
Yeah. Thank you.
So starting this off, man, I kind of want to take the viewers, the fans, the friends, the humans through just the journey of Lenny S. And starting from the start, like what and where did the journey begin? What was family? Where was the house? If you could tell us, and then we'll start from there.
The journey in the entertainment business.
Nah, you as a human.
As a human.
Yeah, like where were you born?
Okay, like the real journey.
The real journey.
Oh wow, okay. That journey started a long time ago in Puerto Rico. I was born in Puerto Rico. My mom actually lived in the Bronx. And I guess thought it would probably be maybe more authentic if I was born in Puerto Rico. So lived in the Bronx, went to Puerto Rico like in her 8th month or whatever, 7th, 8th month or whatever, and stayed there till I was born until I could, I guess fly or whatever, permission you granted to fly as a kid. And she came back to the Bronx.
Wow.
So yeah, Puerto Rican, born, Bronx raised, and literally, man, I mean, I say it everywhere I go. Everybody knows. Oh, I hope that they do know that. I am from the Bronx, where hip hop was created, where your compound used to be.
But I was born in the Bronx too.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just reminding you.
Okay.
That the birth of hip hop is where we're from. It's very important. But yeah, man, that journey started early, and I fell in love with hip hop culture, I would say, because I fell in love with breakdancing. I fell in love with graffiti. I fell in love with the way they dressed, the DJing, the MCing, just every aspect of all of the aspects that are, that combine hip hop.
Hip hop. I always say, man, because people don't give it the credit. It's like hip hop. The only thing it robbed everything of is the 4 cultures that was one. Because we put the one word there, but there is it's a dance culture.
Correct.
Yeah, and I always say that even the words like kind of held back the full potential because it's not dance. It was not breakdance. It was dancing.
Yeah.
It was like it was a lot more things than just breakdancing. And then graffiti held back the real word, which was art.
Art, yeah, correct.
And so we made the word hip hop, but it never gave the credit to these 4 big cultures that's under it.
Yeah.
So I always try to just let people like, oh wow, I never looked at it like these 4 cultures under one word.
Correct.
So came back to the Bronx, Puerto Rican born.
Yep.
But then what was the little Lenny S? Like was growing up, what was the household? The music was like
The young Lenny S was in a household, single parent home. I grew up with my mom 5 days a week. So Monday through Friday, I was with my mom. Friday through Sunday with my grandmom, because my mom used to work on the weekends. She used to be a bartender, so she was just, she worked at night, and as a single mom, she worked during the week. She worked during the daytime as a counselor at a community center, which comes into play later for me from a hip hop standpoint. I'll tell you, but so community center during the week, bartender on the weekend. So weekends were with my grandmother because that was my dad's mom. Because my dad was still in Puerto Rico. He had remarried, had 2 kids, so he was in Puerto Rico living.
Gotcha.
And my mom, so usually as a kid, you usually go to your dad's on the weekend or whatever.
Yep.
I went to my grandmother's house.
Gotcha.
So my grandmother and my mom raised me. That's where I learned, or I speak about them often, that's where I learned all my values, morals, responsibilities. My grandmother helped sign for my first apartment, my first car, my first everything. Like, she was super responsible, taught me responsibility, taught me honor, taught me respect. You know what I'm saying? They both taught me how to be a hard worker. And I just always wanted more, you know what I mean? I kind of was one of those kids who grew up in somewhat, I would say poverty, because, we were, mom was living check to check. We weren't,
Totally.
you know what I mean? We weren't good. We survived, you know what I mean? I still ate mayonnaise sandwiches and, you know
Ketchup
what I'm saying?
sandwiches, yeah. The
But
ends of the bread that was bent.
I use that as like sort of a drive to not be there anymore in that situation. I use that as a drive to make sure that my kids, or if I have kids, that, and by the way, my mom and grandma did a great job. I'm just saying, I know they wanted more for all of us. Same. So I use that as fuel to say I'm not going to be in that position, and I'm going to do everything I can to, provide, to be a provider. So the journey started early. That was, 1 through 10, 11. By the time I was, 10, 11, 12 is when I started to fall in love with hip hop, when I started to hear Sugar Hill Gang. And I liked it, but I wasn't in love with it. And then I fell in love with it when I heard like Run-D.M.C. And I heard those, and Grandmaster Caz and, people like that.
Houdini,
you know what I'm saying?
and all that.
Yeah. So that hip hop, and I would say specifically Run-D.M.C. made me fall in love with what hip hop was. I was still learning what it was, but I just knew that that's what I wanted to do as a career. I couldn't pinpoint what that would be. I didn't know, you know what I mean? I just saw them rapping, but I'm sure there was somebody who made the track. I'm sure there was somebody who
Stylist.
Yeah. I just knew that there were different aspects of that I could probably, but my job, I figured to myself, I owed myself like to go out and search about, what those things were, how it worked, how the music worked, how the music industry worked. And I really started my journey of trying to pursue a music career at 12, 13.
Okay. So let's talk about, because, when I look at Lenny S, right, there's a lot of things, and I know the history and know you for a while is like crate boy, it's A&R, it's manager, it's a curator, it's fashionista. Like,
Intern.
I always say for me, like, I knew at like 7 years old because of comics and movies.
Yeah.
And and then also hip hop, and I was like, how can I merge all these things together? When you started hearing hip hop, and like you even just mentioned it, like it was other things, but was there other things in your life that sparked your interest as a kid? And it was like,
yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, right? Because as we're brothers, we know each other very well. I didn't know that you sparked that at that age, and I would say, I think what aligns with both of us is, it did for me too, right? I fell in love with movies, television. I fell in love with entertainment early on.
Yep.
But I'm not gonna lie to you, Hollywood never seemed attainable to me. Hip hop seemed attainable to me because these were the guys from New York. These were guys from a borough that I was from or could have been from. These are people that I could touch or see possibly. You know what I mean? Hollywood didn't seem realistic for
It
me.
was too far
I
from
would have
us.
loved to do film and television. You know what I mean? I didn't think that, I thought you had to be in California and Sunset Hills. You know what I mean? I didn't know it was attainable. So hip hop is what I was also drawn to because I thought it was attainable. And I learned that at a young age, like I said, 12, 13, 14, because I had a best friend named Che. And Che's grandmother name was Sylvia, and she owned a restaurant in Harlem. So me, my best friend Greg, my man Bert, and Che, we would always go because it was his grandmother's restaurant. I don't know if I can say this, but we ate for free every weekend.
As y'all should.
Every time we went. So, you know, it was like, this was at this time the most popular restaurant, one of the most popular restaurants in Harlem, you know, in the 80s. And we would go there on the weekend. I hung out in Harlem every weekend of my life. That's like, I'm from the Bronx, but I hung out in Harlem a lot. Anyway, I say all that to say, he also had a cousin by the name of Lindsay. And Lindsay was an A&R at Def Jam. And that made it very, very realistic for me because Lindsay would come to the block in like a Rolls Royce with Slick Rick. So for me at 13, 14, to see Slick Rick, you know what I mean? In a beautiful, like a cardigan sweater with a great Gucci
glasses,
link, with a Fendi clutch, with Bally shoes, with slacks on, that was unbelievable to me to see him in person. And that's what I said. It felt like it was attainable and like realistic. And that's why that was my journey to start.
So, seeing this guy, Lindsay, right?
Yeah, Lindsay.
Lindsay with Rick, was it that, you know how like, because we all had the drug dealer come on the block. He was like, we didn't really understand what a drug dealer did.
Yeah.
But we
knew he had money.
Yeah, we knew he had money. We was like, yo, did a Volvo with the monogram seats and like.
Yeah. Or a Wrangler.
A Wrangler, or it was the Jetta with the license plate on the front that said, "I'm too sexy for you" or something. Like, but growing up, seeing that guy, because even with me, man, I grew up, you know, so born in the Bronx, Philly, back and forth my whole life, but I really grew up, the music side, the entertainment side, I grew up in Laureltown on 221st and 130th, right off Merrick Boulevard.
Oh, wow.
So literally, Sweet Tea lived around the corner.
Wow.
Used to go to Larry Smith's house, who produced Run-D.M.C on Hillside.
Jesus Christ.
And LL's grandma, and this
Larry put me in his Cadillac.
I never got in the Cadillac, though. Larry used to send me to the store to get his cigarettes, and he put Cools in the refrigerator.
No way.
I was young, but it was, I never understood like what all these guys were doing, like how you saying Lindsay was, but when did it, I know you looked at him and was like, yo, he's driving one of the hottest rappers around, but like, how did the information of learning like this is what I want to do start transferring for you?
Good question, because I didn't get that early on. And by the way, I'm saying Lindsay was A&R now because I later on in life
found out.
In hindsight, I found out, but at that time I didn't know what
he was just
A&R was,
Slick
but
Rick.
he wasn't A&R. I just knew he was with Slick Rick, and he worked at Def Jam because he used to come with those Def Jam varsity jacket on.
The cranberry
Anyway, so okay, so I had some friends in my block in my area who had record deals, and that's how I was able to learn a little bit more about the inside. You know, I used to stay in, I used to be around, they let me come around to management meetings or meetings with the label. And again, I'm young, but I'm learning and I'm just sitting in the background. Those groups were like Showbiz and AG, The Legion, which is my closest friends.
So they had the hardest beat. What was it? Boom, boom,
They had a few.
But no, you know what I'm talking about.
No, I'm talking about
People
Jingle
don't know
Jangle, I think. Jingle Jangle.
No, it was
Something else.
It was
anyway, so yeah. So it was Showbiz and AG, Fat Joe, I knew in passing. I didn't know him, but I'm, again, from the Bronx, was around those guys, The Legion and Black Sheep. So even though Black Sheep, they were from Queens, or they were originally from North Carolina and stayed in Queens, they had a place in the Bronx. Jerez had a place in the Bronx. So, and he had signed The Legion, and you know, they
Chi Ali.
Exactly, and Chi Ali and those guys. So I was able to kind of grow up around that and just be not only a fan, but I would help them with promotion and I would do stuff like that. So while doing that, I was meeting and learning and watching. I was going to shows with them. They was performing with Tupac in Trafalgar Square in Queens, like crazy. Watching Tupac argue with the promoter because he didn't want to pay him the right amount of money. Like just crazy, like dope, you know what I'm saying?
Moments in your life.
But I was able to experience the business from the outside, but very closely.
Like you was the Lenny on the wall.
100%.
I don't want to call you a fly.
But while we were doing that, I always wanted to feel like I had a place at the table. And when I say that, I mean I never wanted to come and not have anything to offer, right? So I thought, what could we offer? You know, we don't just want to be around. We don't want to be, because it was me and my brother Bert. We didn't want to be two extra bodies in the room that weren't contributing. So Bert worked in the mail room. And we wanted these guys to win so bad that we would think, what can we do to help? So we thought, let's promote for them. And Bert worked in the mailroom, and we would sneak in the mailroom at night in this corporate company, and we would make stickers of all of their logos and whatever single or album they had out at the time. So if it was Black Sheep, The Choice Is Yours, we go and make 3,000 stickers, and then we go smash the city. With him, without him. So he's walking around. Black Sheep is walking around like, oh my God, like these guys are doing more stuff than our label is. Wow. And that's how I met James Cruz.
Yeah, James Cruz. Totally.
At the time, James Cruz was the product manager for Black Sheep. Wow. And he was going up to them like, yo, who's putting up all these stickers and posters? Because clearly it's not from the label.
It's not the label.
He didn't give it to them.
Yep.
And he was like, yo, we getting fines, we getting, you know what I mean? So it was like good and bad, but I thought, fuck it, we was doing our job. If it's being noticed, and it's being noticed by people at the record label. And by the way, I knew nothing what a street team was. I knew nothing what promotion was.
Marketing.
I just thought, these are my friends. How can we get the word out more? And that's how I started doing street team. That was my first actual position, legitimate position in the entertainment business, was street team.
It's so dope because so many stories is mailroom too. So either standing out in front of the label or the mailroom. So
Yeah.
It's one of them two. But now,
that's funny.
I say this with like a lot of painters and those type artists that now you're helping out, very valuable. You know, you as a marketer, you as a promoter, and doing all these things without knowing those titles.
Yeah.
When did it turn into business for you? Because you were already doing what we know now are big positions, but like when was the day that it turned into like, oh, I got a job where I made money?
It turned into, good question, by the way. It turned into a business / reality when a great guy by the name of Super Mario approached me on the street one day and was like, yo, like, who you work for? By the way, not what do you do, not who do you, he assumed because I was out, he saw me at every event. I don't care what club, what seminar, I was there, whether I had promo items or not. He saw me doing some stuff here and there, the Black Sheep stuff and the Legion stuff, and he was just like, yo, who you work with? Like, what label you work with? And I was like, now I'm like, fuck, I don't want to make it look like I don't work for a label. And he's like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I was like, nah, I was like, I just do it on my own. Like, I didn't even know what I was saying. I was like, pretty much independent, me and my man Bert. And he was like, oh, you not with nobody? And I was like, nah, I was doing my own thing. And he was like, bet. He was like, I might get this gig at Bad Boy as head of promotion. If I get it, I want you and your man on my team. And I was like, no doubt, just hit me up. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, hit me on my beeper.
Like I was booked and busy. I was like, nah, no doubt. But I was honored. I was, you know what I'm saying? I was super hyped. And he kept his word, man. And he hit me a month or two later and literally was like, yo, I got the job. So we good. Hit me on Monday. We start Monday. So I was working at it was one of the only 2 jobs I had in my life. I was working at a lighting company. I used to like make the lights, the wires and the...
It was LED and all that?
Everything. I used to make them from scratch, like solder, like everything, like wiring.
Could have started Lenny S Lighting.
Yeah, that's what I want to do, Lenny S Lighting. Anyway, so, and I used to talk about being in the music business there all the time. I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna get in, everybody's like, yeah, whatever. Cut it out. And got the call, and I was like, I got up, I did the whole dramatic, quit.
I'm off.
I quit.
I'm out. I'm out.
Fuck this place. I just had a daughter. I just had my daughter. I was like 19. And when I asked him how much is the pay, he was like, oh, nah, it's no pay. He was like, we're going to give you tokens and lunch money. I couldn't even contain. I just had a kid, bro. And this man said no pay, and again, but I wasn't about to take on the opportunity. So I did it, and that was the beginning of the professional part of the journey, which was like, again, Bad Boy. Before that, I did a little bit of promotion and got like independent checks from like Sean Pecas, Renee McLean.
Shouts out to Peck, shouts out Renee.
Yeah. Ray, my man Ray. So these guys were at like Penalty Records and Electra Records.
Yep.
So I had gotten a little, like, very small, but grateful, you know what I'm saying?
Yep,
but like
totally.
little independent promo thing. So I guess you could say that was the prequel, but the legitimate, like, in an office with an ID was Bad Boy, and that was 94, 95, and it was on the street team. And I chose street team because I didn't want to be subjected to just being at the office.
Gotcha.
I thought the office was great. I wanted to be at the office as
Outside.
well, but I personally wanted to be outside. I wanted to be in the clubs. I wanted to be where like the shows were, the seminars, the conventions in Atlanta and Miami.
Moving around.
So
Yep.
So
How can I be
chose to
down,
be-
Florida, everything like that.
Exactly. So I chose to be in the street team.
Mix your
and that was
power
my
summit.
official, by grace of God, my man Super Mario.
So I'm gonna ask I'm gonna go into a part. It's gonna be a little bit in the future to bring back to understand the mentality of where you was at then. So when I look at you, as I learned later also like a marketer, a creative director, a curator.
But not knowing, but yeah.
Yeah, and me and you we're both this. Because from the start, just trying to help a group that you don't even know really, to help their cause and their mission. When you was doing all this and going, because you have an eye of like curation of certain things. Like, was that always with you every process, like wanting to make things get to a higher level than the actual thing that it was for? Because
That's a great way to put it. I'll be honest. Yes, but honestly, even before that, bro, this shit could actually like choke me up. I want my people to win so bad. When I say my people, like anybody immediately around me, friends, family. If you're an artist, if you're a barber, if you're a director, if you're a producer, I want my people to really, really win. And I have the mentality from a lot of people I work with, from, the early Bad Boy Diddy days, the Dame Dash days, the Leor Cohen days, Kevin Lyles days. Like I've been through a slew of, amazing
Legends.
executives at the time that, that I learned, not settling, that I learned going, there's no doesn't exist, that I learned shooting for the highest of, you know what I'm saying? Like I learned that really early, and I kind of already felt that way. Like I was always a passionate person, you know what I'm saying? So now implementing that passion and maybe a little bit of knowledge and some great drive in what I believe in, which is this artist or this song or this clothing line or whatever the case may be, I just exerted that shit in like on overdrive. So I've always been like that. That's why I'm still like that right now. Like if my friend, if you have something, you at the compound and we throwing something, I'm telling 100 people, to the point where people are like, you own it with him? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I overdo it so much because I'm passionate about it. I want him to win. I don't own a piece of it. I don't get a commission. And most of my friends that I've met within the business, that's why I know different actors and athletes and you know what I mean? Just people from all walks of life.
And I don't want to get into this part because we're not at that journey yet, but it's what I'm getting from you is I think it's an empath. Like, you take a part of a person's career and you honor it and you hold it with your execution though.
Yeah, and just try to enhance it.
Yeah. Well, I think one of my lines is funny because, I say we're similar in a lot of ways. And one of my things I live by, I say my job is to put a magnifying glass on your ideas.
Enhancing, yeah. Same.
So let's go back into the journey of now Bad Boy, Super Mario. Shouts out to him, Super Mario, and then
Always.
the glory day of Bad Boy, 112, Biggie, Craig Mack, list goes on, 112.
Yeah.
You're seeing hip hop at a
Highest level.
Light speed,
Highest commercial level too.
highest commercial level, creativity level, videos, music, lyrics,
Lifestyle.
just the bar was pushed to every level. Mm-hmm. What was that like for you as a young creative? Because you're street team, but that is not.
I was a bum.
But you wasn't.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I know what you mean, but at street team,
Yeah, at street team, but in your mind, you
Correct.
never was that level. But what was that learning transition for you?
Again, man, it all goes back to, right, it inspires me because it's attainable to me. So for me, sometimes, you have Stockholm Syndrome. There's a lot of things out there that stop you from believing that you can achieve something or that you're, able to or deserving of something, right? Any one of those things. And I've suffered with that a lot in my life where it's like, I'm not supposed to be. I was talking to Tata 3 weeks ago. It was like, we're not supposed to be where we're at, from where we came from. Ty came from the mud in Brooklyn, like mud, you know what I mean? I come from the mud in the Bronx. Like, we come from single parent homes, some of us, you know what I'm saying? We come from struggle, we come from no money, we come from same shoes for a year, we come from, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not supposed to be here, not at our age, in our business,
Fact.
well, what we do, you know what I'm saying? Most of the people that we started with are washed or gone
Home
or
Depot or
moved
whatever.
on or, yeah, you know what I mean? And just have moved on or didn't stay at the same level. There's not but so many, same as you, if you could look at artists or actors from
Athletes,
80s or 90s,
whatever,
that
yeah.
how many of them, you know,
Digressed.
transitioned and that too, you know what I'm saying? Or elevated to, there's a handful, you know what I'm saying? So my point is, I still think I'm not supposed to be here. So I go just as hard today as I went 30 years ago. You know what I mean? Because I feel like, yo, I'm not sure if I really deserve this, but I got it and God has given me the opportunity and I'm gonna work hard for it. And you know what I'm saying? I feel the same way about Roc and Jay and wherever I was at the time, that like this is a blessing, this is a privilege, and I'm gonna show that I deserve to be here. And how I show I deserve to be places is by proving that like I'm a great asset to this team. You know what I mean? Everybody's not going to be Jordan or LeBron or, you know what I'm saying, Denzel but you can be a part of that piece of that
team.
company or that team or that, you know what I mean, that helps push whatever the subject is or whatever the principle is, whether that's a piece of clothing, artist, or, you know what I mean, or a song, you know what I mean, of pushing that thing the highest to the furthest it can go.
So
And I just want to be a part of that team.
through that process of being on a bad boy team, like we said, seeing the highest things that you could see, you knew street team was not just the highest for you in that world.
Correct.
What other things intrigued you? Like, okay, you know what? I got to start going to the studio. I need to see so and so. I need to see D-Dot make beats. I need to see the Hitmen. Or was it like, oh, you know what? No, I want to be around when these A&R meetings. Like what? Because it's like getting the call to be on the team, but you like,
I want more.
I need to be a starter. I can't be on the G League. Like,
correct.
What was that process for you?
That process for me actually started at Roc. So the bad boy thing was short lived. I mean, a year and change. That's pretty short.
But wait. Even
in that year,
because in that year, that's when the light bulb went off.
But in that year, within the bad boy year, I didn't have access like that. I only had access to like, big, staff, big meetings for something that's going on, coming up, or for an album, or, a lot of outside stuff, like I said, streets, clubs.
Street team.
I didn't have access to like studio. That came at Roc.
But in the bad boy town, was that the mindset of like, okay, I'm in?
I was more inspired by being around the artists and actually talking to them.
Okay.
I was inspired by Mace knowing my name, honestly. You know what I mean? Like I'm not.
An artist knows me.
I'm not even being funny. Like an artist that was selling millions of records and then I thought was incredible and I thought was one of the dopest lyricists, you know what I'm saying? To be around and you're on the street team, bro. You're not like you're not considered important. Maybe the head of the street team or the head of marketing who has the street team
but not from
is
an
important.
artist.
But the people that are on the street team, they're not considered important. They're considered the help. They're considered, you know what I mean? Like these guys are giving out stickers and posters and
putting in
pamphlets
windshields and stuff.
You know what I mean?
So let's go to Roc then.
So the transition from there to Roc, which was 95, 96, there is when I went in there and I started on the street team as well because I had just been coming off of like, being a part of one of the dopest street teams. And I went into Roc and I started there. And even that, the street team situation, I was the head of the street team, myself and my man Bert. That only lasted a year. And Dame already could see, Jay already could see that like I wanted more. And literally they asked me, like a year later they were like, we kind of feel like your head is hitting the ceiling. You actually probably you're too ambitious for this, for street team. The team is great. Somebody else can run the team. What do you want to do? And I was like, I want to make records. Like, I want to be an A&R. I can't produce, but I want to help an artist find a producer or find a writer or book studio. I want to, and then they were like, okay, cool. We're working on this movie called Streets is Watching, and Hip Hop, which was the other A&R there, my brother, he was already doing like a J album. Dame and Jay were like, you know what? You'll do the Streets is Watching soundtrack. You're an A&R now. And it happened just that easy. Doesn't usually happen like that, obviously, but I had already gained their trust. And Dame even said, Dame was like, because I was like, I didn't think you guys would let me be an A&R because I've never been one before. Like, how do you trust me? And he was like, since we've known you, you've only promoted. So I only promoted stuff I liked. I didn't promote, like, if I didn't like an artist. So, like, me and my man, early on, we had Goody Mob early. We had Outkast early because we knew somebody at Arista and we was doing promotion for them. And I would only promote the stuff I liked. So imagine, so I would give them stuff all the time. Because even though I was working with them, I still had little side accounts.
Yep.
Yeah, so they had known me as promoting really dope, good music.
Good music, yeah.
That they thought was tasteful. So they thought I had good taste in music. And that's how I got, between, I guess, gaining their trust as an employee there and then also having a decent ear for music or talent, I got the A&R position. And that first night, we did It's All Right with Jay, Memphis Bleak, and my man G. Roberson, who's like a big manager in the business.
Totally.
G had the producer named Mahogany. So I was like, yo, G, we're doing this. And you know what I'm saying? So and Mahogany did the beat. So like, I jumped right in and I jumped in, And by the way, working with Jay and Bleak was not a bad job. You know what I'm saying? It's not a hard job. They deliver, if anything, they just made me look good. You know what I'm saying? But it was just me, at least just setting up the room, setting up the session, setting up the play, for me was far more than good enough.
Wow. So yeah, you got thrown in
Yeah.
at a serious.
Luckily.
They always say. I think Nori said this before, man. He was like, yo, if I throw somebody in the pool, I'm not throwing them in 2 feet or 1 foot. I'm throwing them in 15 feet.
That's how I learned how to swim.
So exactly.
My uncle threw me in the water at 5 years old in like 7, 8 feet. I was 5. And it was like, he'll figure it out. Like, that's how I learned how to swim. So,
knowing you and knowing the history in your A&R, when I see the levels of things you still do today, I'm like, okay, but that was the inkling in him, no matter what he was doing. So, A&R, right? I remember when I was around the same year, I was saying this in a couple other interviews. '96 was the year. The '96 year draft, all the great albums, Fuji, Wu.
Jay,
it just was an incredible year. And it was actually the year I was signed to Tommy Boy Records in '96, and I got the job at And1 in '96.
Wow.
That's when I came up with the And1 mixtape in
And1
'96.
mixtape, crazy.
Thank you. And, I had a record deal. I had the And1 job, and I was just like, this still ain't it, though.
Yeah.
And, that time, 50 Cent and Stephon Marbury, I think, did the And1 commercial where Stephon Marbury was dribbling through the cones. You leaving Bad Boy, going to Jay, Dame, Bleak, hottest label in the game, your street team, you started A&R. But knowing you now, and I'm just like, it's kind of, I'm doing the present mind state and the way you was thinking, because I know you were still thinking that way even then. When you became an A&R, and the A&Rs back then were everything. They were like, they were at the studio with you. I remember the first time I went to Nobu and Mr. Chow's.
Everything.
Like, we was learning how to eat with chopsticks. We was learning, like, shrimp shumai. Like, I remember going from the block. I know you understand this. Like, shouts out to Steve Rifkin, because I remember he first took me to Nobu, and I was like, you ain't got no wings? They ain't got no chicken wings? And he was like, yo, you're like, dude, you grade level up right now. He was like, look.
That's dope.
He was like, you gonna get some edamame? I was like, I don't need nobody's mommy. Like, he was like, you gonna get edamame? Like, because you probably went through it, Lenny. I did. Going like
that's how I learned how to use chopsticks.
Yeah, you learning from the industry, and I was like, I was
in a meeting with Jay. Jay was in a meeting with MTV for whatever the next music video coming, and it was at a sushi restaurant. And I was not gonna ask for a fork, and I never eaten.
You can't.
I wasn't.
You can't.
I wasn't gonna embarrass Jay. You know what I mean? And I took the chopsticks, and I prayed. Like I practiced a little bit, and I went to go pick up the salmon roll, whatever, and I was like, don't drop, don't fucking drop, don't drop, don't drop, don't drop, don't drop. And I just, but I was so nervous to like not embarrass Jay just we wanted to seem cultured.
I wanted to seem like I knew what I was doing.
And I fell in love with sushi, and I learned how to use chopsticks all in the same day.
Like I said, you got thrown in the deep end. Jay, Dame, just everybody, like you said, hip hop. And to me, it's still Lenny S is the A&R now. But A&R back then was like, yo, you going to restaurants with artists, you going shopping with artists in fashion.
I'll explain to you how synonymous it was with management. I'll give you an
Exactly.
example
Totally.
of that's how I started to manage artists.
Yep.
From being an A&R. Sounds weird, but
It's the same thing.
it's
Exactly where I
almost
was
the same
going.
thing. If you're an A&R who went above and beyond, I'm not talking about the A&R who just works on the
On the
album.
music, yeah.
Yes. The kind of A&Rs we were, or whatever, was this is my artist, right? This is the artist that I'm working on their album, that I'm trying to help make the best music with them to present to the world. Along with that, everything else has to also be in sync. As we know, it's not just music.
Not just music.
It's marketing, it's promotion, it's radio,
Fashion,
it's
and everything.
campaigns, it's everything. So that job, as we know, is the job of the product manager. The product manager is the one who's obviously managing the product, but making sure that everything is in play and aligned and positioned for the artist to win. Making sure radio's straight, marketing, digital, everything, right? I didn't look at things as titles and responsibilities. This is my artist that I'm working with on the album. I gotta make sure that everything is right. Not say I gotta do everybody's job. I'm just saying within my power, let me see. I know the person at, Tommy Hilfiger. Let me call them and see if I could get them on the trip, right? I'll do that. I know, Jay's about to go on tour. One time Fab, I was managing Fab, and Jay was about to go on tour, and I was like, yo, come on, we need to let Fab open up for a few, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, bet. And he did like a 8-city. It was only like a short 8 to 10, but still.
You're still connected
Fab
with
opening
that.
for Jay, right? Doing that. Magazine cover, floor seats at the, so with my artists I was working with, I was making sure I was doing everything it took to have them get, visibility,
Maximize
exposure. I maximized everything. For stuff that wasn't even my job. I wasn't a publicist. I wasn't a marketer. I wasn't a, digital. I was going to record stores, making sure that they have front
Yeah,
coverage.
like the POP was right.
Everything, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I made the transition, because people would ask me to manage them, and I would always deny it. Why? I didn't think I was smart enough. I didn't think I was experienced enough. I was intimidated by managers who really did this. So whether you were, Chris Lighty, or, there were all these big
Blue
managers
from,
Blue, Outkast.
Outkast,
Like
yeah.
these were all, to me, those were real, Shaka Zulu.
Shaka
They
Zulu.
were real managers,
Real
to me.
managers,
I
totally.
thought that, they went to school and they
Learned
learned study business, and I didn't want to take somebody's career in my hands and maybe not feel like I wasn't good enough to manage that career. So I would always turn it down until, an artist and their friend and a friend of mine were like, you're dumb. Like you're tripping. You got us on a magazine cover. You got us on a tour. You got us, floor seats at the game.
game.
You got us to the
Brand deals.
to the brand deals, and you got us, tickets to the biggest premiere of the Hollywood movie. Like you've done everything. You've done all the managerial duties
and
that,
did the
you know what I'm
album
saying?
with us. Why not?
You're a manager.
You're a manager.
And that's how I made the transition from A&R to management.
But one of the things to me is still, I'm not saying we're leaving it out, but it's this creative all the way through. And it's like, for me, being in the advertising world, started as a DJ, went to a producer, signed the record labels, but then created the annual mixtape. And I learned very later in life, right? I always say I break down an Excel spreadsheet to explain this.
Mm-hmm.
When I learned Excel, and I learned about a project, and then I looked at line items, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, yo, what are line items? And they was like, oh, it's a producer, there's a copywriter, there was a creative director, there's
Lighting.
Yeah, lighting. And I was like, yo, and then I looked at it was a number, and it was a check, all this. But on the creative side, Lenny S has already been doing all these roles because like I said, in the A&R, you like, yo, let's go to Atrium. They just got the Red Monkeys in. They got their Vizus in. And you like, yo, let me put you in these. And then, you know what I'm saying? So now you like, yo, let me take you to Mr. Childs. Let me take you to this restaurant. You like, it's always seemed like it was a creative through line, but we never got taught that we were doing all these other positions and all these other line items because we were really either just focused on our one job or what we were doing. Through this process, all the way from the start, when did it ever click to you like, yo, I'm really a creative?
It's hard to answer, man, because I don't like to look at myself as somebody who is talented enough to actually claim something. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I haven't done things that are talented. I'm saying that everybody that I look up to and everybody that I admire, you know what I'm saying, from you to Salehi to Ronnie, Akith to, I mean, I can go on and on and on. These are people that I look at that are like, whole vision, Steve Stout, that are like real visionaries. So yeah, I've done some stuff, but I'll never see it the same. I'll never see myself the same as you creating the compound, creating N1, creating like all of these different, sub genres and stuff in your own world, in your own creative space that make you who you are. And I know that I possess some of it here and there, but I don't look at myself at that. So there's never been a time where I actually like, yo, me? Yeah, I did that.
But the projects that, okay, so look at it like this, right? We've both been behind a lot of people and a lot of projects, but the world of what you were doing, not as an A&R, not as a marketer, but as a creative, has been a part of certain projects. So then it brings me to the world of back to you having an eye. And when I see an eye, I'm not just talking about a physical eye, but an eye of like,
okay.
of like, I see you need to be with this producer fast.
That's a great way to put it, and I can answer it better there. I do think that I have a knack for talented people. I do have an eye for talented people. I will say that. Some people would like to say that I as well are talented in a sense, but I'm saying from day one, even supporting my friends, to then later on, again, street team, discovering music that again I wanted to promote that I thought was going to be good, right? From artists early on, discovering artists really early on, discovering photographers really early. I found Guru. You know what I mean? Like I found a lot of people that, I mean, he was going to be found. Guru was one of the most brilliant people I know. But what I'm saying is, I used to do Bleak albums. I used to A&R Bleak, and our regular engineer had gotten sick, and their manager had sent over another engineer, and I was like, I don't know if I want to deal with somebody new. Is he good? And he's like, no, he's really good. And when Guru came, Guru blew us away. He was the first guy I saw doing digital. Everybody else was doing analog. He was the first guy on Pro Tools. I immediately hit Jay in hip hop and was like, this engineer for Bleak is unbelievable. This guy he's in 5 years ahead of us. And we tried him out, and Jay had an engineer at the time. And me and hip hop put him with Jay, and he's been with Jay since. So I'm saying but I do that on a lot of different levels where again, there's no, I didn't discover Guru, meaning like in life, I didn't discover, oh my God, you could be an engineer in the business. No, he already existed. Yeah. I'm pulling out the rare talent.
And see, that's what I mean by like an A&R of culture. And like,
thanks.
It's proven. It's not me putting the cap on or gas, but it's and this is, a long time ago, I tried to pitch to a couple labels, and I won't name the execs and the CEOs that, and this was the 90s, I was like, yo, I want to be a creative A&R.
Yeah.
And they was like, no, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
And because I worked with Steve Rifkin. Steve Rifkin blessed me with the opportunity to work in the marketing department. But I used to get a little jealous because I was like, when you worked in marketing at a label, it's kind of a baton job. When all the A&Rs and the artists and producers finish the project, they pass the baton off, which is the album, and say,
yeah,
here, give us some ideas and give us some money.
Now go. Yeah.
See if you can find T-Mobile or...
Yeah.
And I used to be like, wow, but if I was there in the start of the project...
Who can sell it better than you?
Exactly.
Who can present it better than you?
From a creative side.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And you've been doing this your whole career.
Yeah,
trying. And that's why I'm saying it's more of a curator position and a creative position more than an A&R, more than a manager, because you have to create these ideas and these moments and these pivotal pillars through the journey. So in this journey, which one of the things I think, and I grew up under Prince Paul and Daddy-O from Stetson Sonic.
Legendary.
Pos was one of the first people I ever seen back in the day with a camera.
Pastanews, me as well. I have a story, Pastanews story. He's one of my favorite rappers.
Favorite rappers, and one of some of the greatest photos that a lot of people don't get to see.
Yeah.
And it was like, when I used to look at people and I seen a creative thing that they do, and then I look at what they really do, I'd be like, wow, I get it. So, parallel, simultaneously to you, Pastanews, one of the hottest rappers ever. Lenny S, great curator A&R, but photography. Goes back to the eye again. How long was that a part of the package, the toolbox of Lenny S? Because photography, you're seeing something. You know, shouts out to Chris Robinson. I always used to see him go like this.
Yeah.
And it's not even just
great director.
yeah, that totally. Not just the frame of what he was doing, but I was like, you see things different. And like you being a photographer, I translate that to also you see things. But how long was the photography a part of that? Because that probably was even a part of you seeing things different in the industry.
Yeah, thank you, man. The photography was always there, right? I'll explain what I think was maybe special about it, and that's why I say, like you just said, Chris Robinson, right? People have asked me. I'll get back to obviously your answer, but I'm just giving you context. People have asked me to direct videos for them. I've never done it. Like I'm not a director. I'm not Chris Robinson. I'm not. You know what I mean? That's how I look. Same thing with management. So I would always turn it down. I don't think that I'm seeing it in the way that they are. And again, I don't want to ruin somebody's part of their career by doing something that I feel I'm inexperienced for. So the photography was always there. My mom always had a camera, always gave me a camera. I have pictures from everybody has pictures from a kid, but I'm saying like I carried a camera from 7, 8 years old. I have pictures of my friends as 7, 8, 9, 10 that I'm taking. You know what I mean? I just liked it. I just liked having proof of life, and just like, you know, in high school I took pictures every year, every day, because like I liked what people wear. I loved that the girls were like wearing, like freshman year, they were wearing Coach bags and bamboo earrings and braids in different styles. And then you see them advance, and then they go to Coach to whatever, or Benetton, to Gucci, to Fendi, to Louis, you know what I mean? Like, you would see this transformation to the fly girls, you know what I'm saying? Like in high school, you would see the transformation from freshman year, and everybody elevates, and some people say stagnant. But I'm just saying, in photography, I love that you can see those things. They're a special moment in time, you know what I mean? And everything changes and or evolves. The clothing, hairstyles, jewelry, everything,
swag,
right?
everything.
So that's why I did it. Now, fast forward from a kid into a young adult, now in the music business, I always had a camera on me, period. I didn't I'm not gonna act like I walked in there like, I walked in the music business like, yeah, I'm gonna take pictures and they're gonna be worth something one day. No. But being around people in the industry, I was taking pictures anyway. It really blew my mind that I would be with Jay and we'd be at the Hit Factory, and he's talking to D from Rough Riders, and DMX came in because he was in the next room, and then, you know, Irv had his new artist named Ja, and he stopped by, and now they're all in the conversation. I never understood why they didn't have somebody there capturing those moments. That was intentional. And again, I didn't think I was gonna change anything. I didn't think I was gonna have anything that was later be, you know, classic or legendary, but I thought, let me at least catch this for them. You know what I mean? If not for myself, because I'm a fan of all these people, and nobody else has this access. So from the 90s, yeah, I will take that little bit of credit. I will take the little bit of credit that I had the foresight 30 years ago to do what every single artist does now, which is have a shooter, a videographer, a photographer with them. That has become like, you used to have the security, you used to have your best friend, you used to have maybe if you're a guy, your barber, if you're, you know what I mean? Like, you used to have a certain crew that travel with you. As we all know, in the last, 10, 15 years, it's a videographer, photographer is on staff. I had that vision in the 90s, you know, and again, it wasn't a thing. Like, I didn't put it on paper. I didn't say, oh, artists should have. No, I just thought
you just did it.
Jay should have these memories. Bleak should have these memories. The people that I'm working with should, and that's what I would do. I would get them, I would print them, and I would give them out, and they'd be like, oh, yo, it's fire, bro. Thanks, bro. You know what I'm saying? And then it just, you know what I mean? And I also did think, when I used to watch them in the room, when I would see Jay, you know, and I have a photo of, like, let's say Jay talking to DMX, and also, you know, whatever, you know, Allen Iverson, I'm making this up, right? To me, it was like looking at pictures back in the day where I would see like Malcolm X with Muhammad Ali and Sam Cooke in a diner in Harlem. That to me was unbelievable. Like, what? These three guys, from three different worlds, they were friends, you know what I mean? Like, so that blew my mind. So that is another reason I intentionally took photos of anything and everywhere we were at within the entertainment business.
So Lenny, this journey, man, has been great. Street team, A&R, manager. We have cracked the code on creative director, the eye of the culture.
Dot connector, I prefer that.
Dot connector. Just so many, like I said, line items that you have, put together to execute the career that you have executed. One other thing that similarity for both of us, man, and for me, I started the compound in Philadelphia probably 1996 when I had my first studio on the road home. I mean, from the Gravediggers was coming down there, Prince Paul, Cannon, Stalley, mad people was coming by. Gilly the Kid recorded in my studio back in the day, like Ab Lava, just so many people.
Dope.
I live by a thing called a saying, build it and they will come.
Yep.
And I always said hip hop was very segregated, for those who were blessed to be in Quad, Chung King, Baseline, back in the day. But it was nothing like that for the culture.
Yeah.
If you wasn't if you wasn't a part of the studio, the producer, or the artist, you couldn't come there. If you was the photographer,
That's a valid point.
If you was you could have been the guy doing the album cover. You did not get to go to the studio. So I created Compound, and I was like, I wanted to create a spot.
A creative space.
A creative space where the artist, the rapper, the producer, the DJ,
The ball player,
everybody comes. I remember when your office turned into that. and I love that, the fact of, because all the labels, we got a chance to go to Loud, we got a chance to go to Def Jam. But in these spaces, it was never a space that was curated that represented the culture. The closest thing we had to represent the culture was plaques.
Yeah.
You go in anybody's office.
A gold or a platinum plaque he's referring to.
It was platinum plaque or gold or bronze.
Whenever you sold, if you sold 500,000 records, you got a gold plaque. If you sold over a million, you get a platinum plaque.
So office labels was all generic furniture that the label bought. But the more plaques, that was probably the biggest thing.
That was the allure of the
office.
That was the hero moment
of the office.
Yeah.
You've created, and when you created your office, this is when I seen the culmination of plaques, photography, gold couch,
history,
toys,
yeah.
Inside of an office, which takes me back to a curator, takes me back to an eye, which takes me back to an Ace of Spade bottle matching the couch, but matching the frames. And when did that curation come to you? But because that is, and this is how deep I looked at it. I remember before I got in, I knew you, but before I got invited to it, I was like, oh, he has a compound inside of a label.
A label, yeah.
With photography, with music, with management, with A&R, with toys, with fashion, was this just, I'm on this journey and this organically happened, or was this a foresight of no, I want to put all this together in the space?
See, good. And it shows who I am and why I don't like to take a lot of credit, because while you see it that way, which beautifully, eloquently articulated, seriously, right? I didn't want a boring office. That was the start of it. We had glass walls because it was a more communal thing. Like a lot of offices were more turning Google and Apple, you know what I mean? Where it's very communal, you can see through everything. And we, like you said, we had got the standard furniture, which is cool, but I didn't want people walking by my office and seeing what they saw in everybody else's office.
Yep.
And, I always kind of want to stand out. And I also, the one thing I will say that credits to what you're saying is, I wanted the office to kind of have a moment. Not necessarily, I didn't create it and then say, this is going to be our Instagram moment. That's not my intention, right? But the intention is a moment. When you go to certain restaurants or you go to certain places to visit, museums, whatever, even places to visit, certain landmarks are just, they've become that.
Totally.
And that's what I kind of thought or hoped would happen is like, I'm going to create this cool thing. It's going to be bright. It's going to be loud. It's going to be maybe slightly obnoxious if you don't like it. And it's going to be, but it's going to be historic and it's going to be cultural and it's going to be, I'm going to try to make it cool, right? I just know it's going to be different. And that was the thing. And I felt like the labels had kind of lost that illustrious like thing of where any label back in the day, people used to stand outside, like you said, outside the mailroom, outside the front doors, waiting for executives to come out, waiting for other artists to come out to pass them their music, CDs, cassette, whatever the case, thumb drives, whatever, right? I feel like a lot of that has gotten lost, and like the less and less people wanted to go. Now people want to go places because like there's this wall that has wings on them and they want to do an Instagram picture of them looking like they have wings, you know what I mean? Like
Totally.
they want to go to like, you go to certain restaurants and there's a quote in the wall of your favorite artist
Totally.
with a grass wall and it's in, their Instagram moments. Like some of them are obvious and a little goofy, but some places are naturally, if you're in Brazil, you're going to go to the statue. Like there are things that you want to go to. I kind of wanted it to be something that like, if I'm here or if I'm in this office, I gotta stop by there. Like I gotta take a little, and by the way, whether it's to stop to go see the pictures on the wall in person, because there's 50, 60 pictures on the wall, all that I've taken throughout my career. You know what I mean? A lot of people go there and don't know that. They look at them like, oh, these are dope pictures. They just think it's a nice curated wall of
pictures.
Photos that just came from different, and it's like, no. The main denominator, the common denominator here is I took all the photos. I'm proud of these photos. I'm proud of these people. I'm proud of these moments. And then everything is gold because it's like, this is the gold standard. Like we are reaching for the high. We want, luxury. We want premiumness. We just want that, you know what I'm saying? And that's what it was. And it was like, hey, if this could become a room where people want to stop by and kind of like kick it in and I made it communal. I didn't have it like a desk where I sit behind a desk. Because it is my office. And I made it more of like a lounge, you know what I mean? Like if you're going to Soho House or you're doing something like that. So it was for that, man. It was for the historicness of it, for the culture, for the, shock value. You know what I mean? You walk by. I love that you walk by and you love it or you hate it. You walk by and it's all this gold. There's gold frames. There's gold things, gold chairs, gold. And it's like obnoxious. Or you walk by like, oh, shit, it's kind of crazy. Or interesting or whatever. But most of the people, 8 out of 10 people that walk by are like, I either want to get a picture on there, I need to get a picture in there, or you know what I mean? We have the CEO of our company, chairman, that sometimes has corporate people, new athletes, new artists, and they're meeting about business. Great, they're doing a tour, and I hear often that people are like, can we go to the Go office before we, before we, and, you know what I'm saying? Before I leave, you know what I'm saying? So, and I just think it's a cool little, extra little cool moment that, you know what I'm saying, that we have at, just trying to create a vibe. And like I said, it wasn't necessarily intentional. I didn't know it was, in August is the 10-year anniversary. I'm gonna do a big event. You'll be
working
there.
on something?
But yeah, working on something big. Yeah, 10 years.
We?
Yeah, we are working on something. So yeah, 10 years. And I went down to the first post of the page, and I was like, August 15th, 2015. I was like, damn.
Time flies.
So yeah, time flies. So again, man, it's become, and it became cool because it gave people something to aspire to, right, in a way, right? Because the gold standard, the reason the gold office is called the gold standard, it is for me to feature everything that I'm a fan of, that I admire, that I respect. So if you're a hairdresser, if you're a barber, if you're a producer, director, artist, athlete, actor, it don't matter. I honor you, I respect you, you created this. You made something from nothing. You thought or got it in your head and you were ambitious enough to follow out this dream and these goals and did it. And those are the people I feature on there. That's what everybody is from all walks of life. It's not, you know what I mean? Yeah. I state where you're from, what do you do, and what you've accomplished. You know what I'm saying? So it started becoming dope from like going from A&R and then evolving. Because back in the day, people would be like, yo, man, I'm gonna get you my music. I want to be on the label. I'm gonna meet you one day. I'm gonna give you my, you know what I'm saying? And now it's like, yo, Kodak, I'm gonna get on that couch, bro. And it's like, it's funny, but it's like, you know what I'm saying? But it's like,
yo, I'm gonna be at the compound.
Or just because they think it's a cool moment.
Yep.
Whereas like I run into ball players, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, yo, I need a picture on the couch, bro. Like, it's a good thing. It's like whether it's you're aspiring to be something more or, it's admirational. So
I mean, did you notice the color of your mic? I don't know if you noticed
Yeah, it's like a nice gold, the copper.
It's a gold standard.
And the chair is good. Thank you.
I tried to.
I didn't get the gold cup though. I should have got a gold cup.
I mean,
But the Añejo tequila is gold.
Gold. So to take us out of here and like, A&R manager, kid that was taking photography and, I mean, you're when it comes to culture, you're playing with the '96 Bulls. From J to B to Khaled to Reed to Top.
Well, some of them I work with. They're just fan. But
no, I mean, but you're in the
I'm in the culture.
In the culture in the '96 Bulls.
I didn't want to take credit for something.
I said you're in the culture and working in the realm of the '96 Bulls. But to me, it's still more of Lenny S, the world of Lenny S. And when you think of like, just from the curation, the photography, the design factor, of all the things you want to do, and going forward, when it's all said and done, and you're like, yo, what else what more do you want to do? It's worlds of film where you bring the recipe of Lenny S to film, or that could be architecture, that could be.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm gonna do next, man. Film and television. I just produced my first film last year called Savage Lands. I didn't see the trailer? I seen the trailer.
I didn't see the trailer.
Okay, I've seen the trailer. We're editing now.
I'm in the B group.
No, stop. We're editing now so that we can shop it and sell it. But really great story. But anyway, I want to do film and television. I want to do documentaries. I want to do biopics. I want to be able to be one of the people that are not necessarily in charge, but have a hand in telling the stories of the people that came before us and the artists because there's shows out there that try to do it, and no knock to them, but they're short, they're simple, they don't tell the story properly. You know what I mean? Right. And in order to tell the story properly, you need people who care about that artist or the culture or the time or the story. You know what I mean? And I'm, as you know, I've spent 30 years more. 30 years what I've been in the business, but before that I cared. Before that I wanted to be able to protect this thing that was created, you know what I'm saying, within our culture. And I want to be able to tell those stories. So more stuff like that, Obviously got to drop the books. The books are coming. The Gold Couch book, the career book. Yeah, man, just a bunch of different, and just curating, consulting, work with Tommy Hilfiger, different brands. So just continuing, just evolving, man, and staying in the game. Because when it's over, I'm going to let it all go. There'll be no more social media. There'll be no more creative. I'll be in a upstate New York somewhere in a greenhouse or a farmer's market growing basil and cilantro, and I'll be happy. I'll be good.
So my last question, when is the cologne drop? Thank you, man. Yo,
my brother, man. Thank you, man.
Nah, this has been great,
man. This is one
man.
of the most sincere and genuine interviews I've ever done, or conversations, rather.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, bro. Cut. No,
when the cologne drop is crazy.